What happens when curiosity leads two sisters to a mysterious neighbor whose charm leaves every woman breathless? As they spy on his late-night visitors, a daring plan forms, one that could change everything. With a mix of excitement and apprehension, they decide to knock on his door. But what awaits them inside is beyond anything they could have imagined. Will they uncover the secrets that lie behind those walls? Or will they find themselves caught in a whirlwind of temptation? Stay tuned to find out. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more thrilling tales. Let's dive right in. Mrs. Blake expressed her feelings openly, dramatically sinking back into the couch cushions as if performing for an audience. She sighed theatrically, saying, "Every night, it's like we're competing for a medal or something." Mr. Blake smirked, not looking up from his drink, and replied, "Well, some of us are still in our prime." Their laughter was a bit too loud and pointed, not a shared joke, but a performance aimed at us. Tom sat quietly beside me on the other couch, one leg casually crossed over his knee, but I could sense his stillness when Mrs. Blake continued talking. She raised her glass slightly, grinning at us, and said, "But hey, at least you two don't have to worry about that stuff anymore, right?" I tilted my head, listening as she went on. "I mean, you've put in your time. Now you get to relax and enjoy the quieter parts of life. No need to keep up with all the—" She made a vague hand motion, smirking. Mr. Blake softly laughed and muttered, "They've earned it," as if it were a compliment. Across from us, Mr. Hart glanced at his wife, then down at the floor. She gave a tight smile, shifting in her seat, her hand barely brushing his knee. Neither of them argued. They seemed to agree, having accepted it. But we hadn't. I slowly slid my hand across Tom's thigh, settling against him as I set my glass aside. "Actually," I said softly but firmly, "we still do it almost every night." Mrs. Blake blinked, and Mr. Blake stared, his smile fading slightly. I turned to Tom, running my hand up his chest, and said, "This one's a beast in bed." Someone inhaled sharply. Tom chuckled low in his throat, finally meeting Mr. Blake's gaze. "We've been together for 21 years, he said calmly. "And I'd say the last 5 have been the best." Mrs. Blake laughed, but it sounded thin. "Wait, seriously? Every night?" She looked me up and down, then glanced at Tom. "I mean, you still look amazing, but there's no way he's keeping up with that." She smiled as if doing us a favor by pretending to believe it. I let the silence hang before smiling and saying, "You'd be surprised what he's capable of." Tom leaned forward slightly, his voice calm. "She makes it easy to keep up." "Me, da." Blake gave a half laugh, almost nervous. "Yeah, well, I don't think I could believe it without seeing it." I tilted my head. "No, you really think I'm bluffing?" He didn't answer, but didn't look away either. I let the silence stretch, letting the tension build just enough. Then I smiled. "You know, I wasn't planning on putting on a show tonight." I stepped in front of Tom, smoothing my hand over his shoulder. "But since you asked so nicely." I looked toward Mr. Blake. "Don't say I didn't give you a chance to back out." Tom leaned back, arms stretched along the couch, completely relaxed, as if he knew exactly where this was going, and had been waiting for it all night. I turned toward him, running my fingers slowly down his chest. The room went still. Then I dropped to my knees, not looking away from Tom, and reached for his zipper. I didn't say a word, just reached in and wrapped my hand around him. He was already firm, steady, and ready. I let my fingers settle there, slow and steady, giving them time to realize what they were seeing. Then I looked over my shoulder and smiled. No one moved. I lowered myself without hesitation. No teasing, no build-up, just deliberate motion and full focus. Gasps and shifting sounds came from behind me, but I didn't stop. My lips grazed the surface, soft and slow, teasing. Then again, slower this time. My tongue followed, slow and purposeful, savoring the closeness. Tom exhaled softly, the sound buried low in his chest. He leaned back into the couch, one hand resting against the armrest. His breathing changing longer, slower, deeper. I let my hand and mouth move together, smooth and steady, not rushed. Every movement, every breath, every pause, I made them all count, as if building something just for him and letting them all watch me do it. Tom adjusted in his seat, subtle but unmistakable. That's when his hand came down. Just fingertips at first, resting at the back of my head, not pushing, just there, anchoring me, leading gently. And I followed. He guided the rhythm, and I followed it, like a song we both remembered. We moved together as if this was muscle memory, something we'd perfected over the years. The room behind me had gone quiet but not empty. I could feel their eyes, how still they'd gone, as if the air had stopped moving. And still, I didn't break focus, not for a second. When I finally pulled back, I rose slowly and smoothly, not looking at anyone but him. I stood, unbuttoned my blouse, and let it fall to the floor. Then my skirt, then everything else. I eased myself onto his lap, settling across him with practiced ease. Nothing was between us now. His hands gripped my thighs, tight and grounded. I looked up, meeting every pair of eyes in the room. "Hope you enjoyed the warm-up," I said. And I settled, drawn closer by gravity and something else entirely. I moved over him in a rhythm, measured and grounded. My thighs wrapped around his hips, knees rooted into the cushions, hands planted firmly on his chest. Every motion was intentional, controlled, and weighted. Tom's grip on my waist grew firmer with each pass. His breathing deepened beneath me. But he didn't lead. He let me move how I wanted, as if he trusted me to set the pace. I leaned forward until my chest brushed his, my forehead resting gently against his for a breath. Then I rocked back again, adjusting the angle, letting more of my body respond to his. He released a slow breath through his nose, quiet but thick with tension. I kept going. The room had fallen still, not empty, not silent, but suspended. Somewhere behind me, the couch creaked. A whispered, "Oh my God." Then another voice, sharper, disbelieving. "I can't believe they're actually doing this." I didn't stop. If anything, I moved with more precision. Bolder now, sharper at the edges. My spine curved as I let my head tip back, drawing the motion out with purpose. Tom's hands slid along my sides, anchoring me with a heat that made my breath catch low in my chest. His body had gone taut beneath me, tense, focused, holding on. "You're unreal," he murmured. I didn't answer, only shifted again, deeper, slower, more complete, letting him feel all of it. Then he sat up, arms locking around my back. He pulled me close and kissed just behind my ear. "Come here," he whispered. I nodded. He rose with me in his arms, our connection unbroken, and stepped off the couch. He lowered to his knees and eased me down onto the rug, laying me out gently in the center of the room. The carpet was warm against my back. I adjusted without effort, legs parting with instinctive ease, open to him. That's when I saw them. Mrs. Hart on her knees, lips drifting down her husband's stomach, his hand resting softly in her hair. Mrs. Blake, tense, legs crossed tight, her face unreadable but flushed. Mr. Blake, leaning forward, elbows braced, eyes fixed and unmoving. I looked at them all and smiled. They doubted us. Now they couldn't look away. Tom knelt between my legs, one palm pressing gently into my thigh, the other braced near my ribs. Our eyes met. Then he moved toward me again, settling over me with full weight, deliberate and complete. His body stretched across mine, chest against skin, warmth pressing through every point of contact. My legs wrapped around his waist, keeping him close, grounding us to the rug beneath. The room vanished. Even the sounds blurred at the edges. All that remained was the cadence between us, thick, deliberate, folding me into each movement as if we were breathing in sync. Every shift from him lit up something buried deep inside. One hand found my wrist, threading our fingers together above my head. The other steadied against the side of my thigh, holding me in place with a quiet force that left no doubt. I arched into him without thinking, letting the motion carry us further. Air caught in my throat. His mouth hovered at my neck, not kissing, just exhaling, and every restrained tremor in him radiated through me. He was focused, grounded, completely present. Tilting my head, I caught just enough of the room to see Mrs. Hart had taken her place above her husband, moving with a kind of wild flow, her body lifting and lowering in time with his hands at her waist. They weren't just caught in it, they were consumed, and across from them, the Blakes remained frozen, arms crossed tight, lips pressed pale. Mrs. Blake didn't even blink. Her husband stared forward, knuckles locked between his knees. They looked like they'd forgotten how to breathe, the youngest couple in the room completely undone. I turned back to Tom. His gaze never left me. That motion, that weight, that warmth. It was all still there, building towards something heavier. Without warning, his arms gathered beneath me, one under my shoulder, the other beneath my hips. And with a single seamless motion, he turned me. My hands caught the rug, knees planted wide. The shift sent a jolt through my spine, heat rushing up my throat. He drew in behind me, close, certain, unshakable. "Don't hold back," I breathed. He didn't. Fingers closed around my hips, and the pace changed entirely. No more patience, no restraint. Each motion came with purpose, steady, grounded, and unrelenting. The sound of our bodies meeting filled the room like low thunder rolling across fabric. My arms strained to hold me up, elbows bent, palms flattened to stay grounded. Every part of me tensed, braced, opened again. A glance over my shoulder and there she was, Mrs. Blake, her eyes locked to mine, mouth parted, frozen, not judging, just witnessing. I didn't blink, didn't look away. I wanted her to see. Then I turned forward again, letting everything else fall away. The tempo climbed higher, sharp and consuming. His hold was firm, my lungs seized. My body tightened, stretched, and hovered right at the edge. Something inside let go. A sound escaped, half breath, half cry. I folded forward, trembling. The world around me lit with something hot and breathless and bright. For a moment, just long enough to catch one shallow breath, he paused, then moved again with even more force, more driven, more alive, and he didn't stop. Be honest. If you were in his place, with the whole room watching, what would you have done? Would you have held back? Or gone even further? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading. And before you head out, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Thanks for watching. My sister and I kept noticing the same thing. Every woman who visited our neighbor left, looking completely dazed. We had questions, so we went over to introduce ourselves. And the second he opened the door, we knew he wasn't surprised to see us. It was late, and I was about to head upstairs when something caught my eye through the front window. Just across the street, his bedroom light flicked on, and he wasn't alone. I stopped mid-step, one hand still on the banister. A woman stood near the window, already halfway undressed. Her dress slipped off her shoulders as if it had happened 100 times before. She leaned into him, hands on his chest, while he just stood there, calm and still, like he had all the time in the world. "Claire!" I called, my voice low but urgent. "You need to see this." She wandered in with a blanket wrapped around her, hair messy from the couch. "What?" I pointed without turning. "He's at it again." She sighed. "Ava, come on." "No, seriously, look." She stepped beside me, hesitant. But when she glanced out the window, her eyes widened. Through the glass, we could see everything. Her back was against the wall now, his hand braced beside her head. He leaned in, whispering something. She laughed, then went quiet as he slowly lifted her thigh, guiding her closer. Claire covered her mouth. "We shouldn't be watching this." "And yet," I said, grinning. We both stayed there motionless, pressed close to the window, like teenagers spying on something we weren't supposed to see. He moved slowly, like he'd done this 1,000 times. Like her reactions didn't surprise him anymore. She clung to him, her head rolling back, her legs shaky before she even moved. When he turned her around, she held the window frame like it was the only thing keeping her steady. Claire shifted. "Is that the same girl from last week?" "Nope," I said. "That's a new one. 5th, maybe 6th this month." Claire shook her head, but her eyes didn't leave the window. "That's insane." "I'm telling you," I whispered. "They come in confident, laughing, flirting, and leave looking like they've just been through something they'll never forget." We watched her tense again. Her mouth dropped open, jaw slack, eyes fluttering. He barely moved, but whatever he was doing had her holding on like her whole body was reacting to it. Claire turned away, flustered. "Okay, that's enough." I didn't move. "You can't tell me you're not a little curious." She sat down on the armrest, clutching her blanket tighter. "I mean, he's kind of impressive." "Kind of," I said. "That man is a walking mystery. Mid-50s, barely says a word, never brags, and somehow has every woman in this neighborhood leaving his place like they just stepped out of a dream." Claire bit her lip. I smiled. "I want to know what that's like." She laughed nervously. "You're not serious?" "Oh, I'm very serious. Not tonight, but tomorrow I might go over there. Say hi. Introduce myself." "You're going to what?" "Knock on his door and ask for a sample. Maybe I'll borrow sugar," I said, grinning. "Or ask if he needs help carrying something heavy. Whatever works." Claire stood, blanket still clutched tight. "You're out of your mind." "I know," I said, "but admit it, you're wondering too." She didn't answer, just pulled the blanket tighter and looked away. I woke up the next morning with one thing still stuck in my head. Him. No part of me felt guilty about watching. If anything, I was more curious than ever. What was it about him that left every woman completely shaken? Claire, on the other hand, acted like last night hadn't burned itself into her brain too. She was still in her pajamas, curled up on the couch with a bowl of cereal, like nothing had happened at all. I leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. "So," I said casually, "I'm thinking, now's a good time." She didn't look up. "Good time for what?" "You know what?" She sighed. Already bracing. "Ava, you cannot just knock on some man's door because you liked what you saw through his window." "First of all," I said, grabbing my keys, "it's not just what I saw. It's what I've seen repeatedly, consistently. And last night, that sealed it." Claire pulled the blanket over her head. "I'm not going." "You don't have to do anything," I said. "Just come with me. Back me up. Maybe pretend I'm borrowing something." She peeked out. "Why do you even want me there?" "Because," I said, walking over. "You'll keep me from doing something too bold, or you'll pressure me into doing something stupid. Possibly. But either way, it'll be fun." She rolled her eyes, but I could tell she was folding. When she stood, arms crossed tight, I tossed her a hoodie. A few minutes later, we were crossing the street. My heart thudding, not from nerves, just anticipation. Claire stayed a step behind me the whole way. I knocked once. The door creaked open almost immediately. He stood there, barefoot, shirt halfway buttoned, hair still damp from a shower, and the way he looked at us like he already knew exactly who we were, was wondering when we'd finally meet. Looked at us like he already knew why we were there. I didn't miss the way his eyes moved just once from me to Claire, then back again, calm, measured, like he'd been waiting. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice light. "Sorry to just show up. We were out for a walk and figured might as well say hi." Claire stood just behind me, arms crossed, hoodie pulled tight, like she wanted to disappear. He nodded once. "Nice of you to stop by." "We're Ava and Claire," I added, pointing across the street. "I know." That was all he said, nothing more. But something in the way he said it made it clear he didn't buy our excuse, and he didn't need to. He stepped aside and we walked in. The house was warm and still, filled with soft light and the faint smell of coffee. Music played somewhere in the background, slow and low, like it had been on for hours. On the counter, 2 glasses, one already full. I raised an eyebrow, expecting someone. "Not really," he said. "Just figured I might have company." I shot Claire a look. She pretended not to notice. He handed me the glass. I took it without hesitation. Claire hovered near the door, still unsure, still quiet. "You're not what I pictured," I said, taking a small sip. "Neither are you," he smirked. "And what did you picture?" His tone didn't change. "People who watch that closely usually avoid eye contact." The next day, Claire flinched. "I didn't—" "You saw us," he said. "It's a window, not a one-way mirror." I laughed, quiet and sharp. "Fair." He dropped onto the edge of the couch like it was nothing, arms resting on his knees. Claire still hadn't moved. "You can go any time," he said gently, looking her way. "No pressure." She didn't answer, just stayed where she was, eyes flicking between us. I leaned on the back of the couch, facing him. "You get a lot of fake excuses at your door?" He looked up at me and smiled, calm and sure. "I leave the window open for a reason." I didn't back away. I got closer, leaning against him, one leg draped casually across his lap, fingers resting lightly on his shoulder. He didn't move, just let his hand settle on my thigh like he'd been expecting me. Claire's voice cut through the quiet. "You're actually doing this?" I looked over at her, still standing near the door. "You act like I dragged you here." "You kind of did." "Then go," I said simply. "Or stay and admit you're not just here for me." She shook her head. "He's a stranger, Ava. Number one, he's the man who's had every woman in this neighborhood leaving his house like they forgot what year it was, including the one we watched last night." He raised an eyebrow just slightly. "I try to make sure they don't forget me." Claire flinched at that, but her eyes stayed locked on his. I stood up slowly, walked over, and took her hand. She froze. I felt her pulse jump under my finger. "You don't have to do anything," I said quietly. "But don't lie to yourself either." Then I guided her forward, step by step, right in front of him. He looked up at her, calm, steady, unreadable, then leaned in and kissed her. Claire let out a shaky breath when his mouth touched hers. But after a heartbeat, she pulled back, her face flushed. I didn't hesitate. I stepped in, brushing past her, and kissed him with full intent. No guessing, no pause. I made it clear what I wanted. His hands moved to my hips, steady and deliberate. When I leaned back, neither of us said a word. I reached for the hem of my dress, and he mirrored me. We slipped out of them, like it wasn't the first time we'd done this with someone. Then I moved closer, hands still resting on him. His breathing shifted. I took my time, tracking every change in his body. The way his shoulders tightened, how his grip tensed slightly against the cushion. I wanted to feel everything he was holding back. Behind me, something changed. He looked past me and offered a hand. Claire stood there, still holding her dress like a shield, hovering between stepping forward and walking out. He didn't say a word, just nodded. Claire moved toward us, slow, cautious, but not resisting. He kissed her again, softly this time. She didn't pull away. His hand slid behind her neck, grounding her while his other hand helped ease the dress from her shoulders. It dropped without a sound, and her breath followed. I kept going, letting the rhythm guide me. Claire joined me on the floor, still hesitant until he touched her cheek, guiding her with a calm certainty. Our hands brushed briefly, both of us focused on the same purpose. She was slower, more tentative, but growing bolder with each movement. When his head tipped back slightly, I knew we were making progress. Then he spoke, voice low and steady. "Both of you, up." We stood together. He slid further into the couch, arms resting wide. I climbed onto the cushions, straddling him slowly, and shifted until I was exactly where I needed to be. The moment his lips met my skin, my grip tightened. His movements were deliberate, focused, unrushed, endlessly skilled. I tilted my head back, breathing through it. Claire lowered herself again, and I glanced down as she picked up where I'd left off. Her hands finding their rhythm, growing more confident as I guided her gently. We moved together with shared purpose. His attention didn't falter. Every motion built on the last, sending waves through my legs, tightening everything in me. My balance wavered, but I didn't want him to stop, not when he was this close to undoing me. Then Claire inhaled sharply. He touched her, encouraging her up. She stood and let him guide her into his lap, his hand steadying her at the waist. I stepped back, brushing a hand along her spine as she settled above him. She closed her eyes and let gravity do the rest, shifting slowly, adjusting with each motion. His hand supported her, one at her back, the other bracing her hips. Her breath turned uneven, her focus locked on him. She leaned in, gripping his shoulders for balance as her movements grew stronger. Then her body tensed. Her head fell against him, her back arching just enough to show us everything we needed to know. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. He held her a moment longer, then stood with her in his arms and carried her to the cushions, lowering her with care. Then he turned to me. I was already ready, facing away, breath already shallow. He stepped behind me and took hold, guiding us into a rhythm that took over without hesitation. His hands were sure, his pace steady but firm. Claire lay nearby, watching through half-closed eyes, still catching her breath. I smiled at her, then the pressure shifted. I gasped, grabbing at the couch for balance. Every second pulled me deeper into it. He knew where to go, how to keep me right on the edge. When he angled just right, my back arched, and everything inside surged forward. It hit fast and clean, shaking through me. I leaned forward, eyes shut, barely together by the pace he kept steady. Still, he didn't slow down. If anything, he was just getting started. He turned to Claire gently, lifting her once again and laid her flat. She barely had a second before he joined her, moving with even more urgency. I knelt beside them, wiping the sweat from her brow, trailing light kisses along his shoulder and chest. Claire's hand surged for mine. I held it tight. She moved with him again, and faster this time, her body responding easily, rising to meet him. She gripped the cushions. Her breathing shifted. Her reaction grew stronger with each moment, building, not stopping. I watched her closely, amazed. He kept going, focused, fierce, somehow tireless. His stamina didn't just impress. It overwhelmed. It felt like he could keep going forever, and part of me believed he might. At last, he let out a quiet breath against her neck as he reached his limit. Claire lay completely still, chest heaving. I curled up beside them, brushing strands of hair from her forehead, my own body still buzzing. Then I leaned closer and whispered with a grin, "Still think it was a bad idea? Before you leave, tell me. If two sisters showed up at your door like that, what would you have done? Be honest, drop it in the comments. I want to know. And while you're here, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching.